And it's on. So welcome everyone once again. As I said yesterday in this session, we're going to have an educational topic, which will be a relationship between the weekly, daily, and 4-hour structure. And I will involve the 15-minute chart too. I will talk about these things. I've already did in the previous webinar on last week, but I just wanted to do with actually chart flow examples like this, because I want you to understand the higher time frame. And let me just hide the video panel because it's so fucking annoying. And I just discovered that you can actually turn on captions on Zoom, and this might be a new function. If you can't really understand my English, if you can't really know what I'm saying, you can actually turn on captions. You can turn on the captions and it will pop on your screen and you'll be able to see and translate it into your own English language too. So yeah, never mind, let's just start it. So first we will start with this educational topic. After that, we will obviously do the usual forecast, top down, breakdown, higher time frame, lower time frame, blah, blah, blah things. But let's just start with this. Okay. So as I explained it weeks ago or last week, I don't remember when did I explain it. If you have a weekly structure like this, so let's just start on a weekly. If you have a weekly structure like this, so it's creating a series of lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. So creating continuous breakout structures to the downside over and over again. The weekly will be clearly bearish, right? So yeah, the weekly structure is bearish. It will have a retracement point at some point. It will retrace somewhere like this. After creating a new breakout structure, it will create a retracement once again. So here's a new breakout structure. It reaches its low point. There will be a change in the trend on the lower time frame. First on the 1 minute, after that on the 5 minute, 15 minute, 4-hour, daily. And after every single time frame has changed to bullish at this region, the weekly can create its pullback up to a weekly supply area, somewhere around at this point. The weekly supply can be here, can be on the extreme, can be on the decisional. Doesn't really matter where the weekly supply is. It has to be a weekly supply. So here's a weekly supply zone. Price creates its retracement, reaches its weekly supply zone. And I'm asking you, yeah, this will be a little bit of interactive session. Here's the first question. If you raise your hand, you can answer. After price reaches this weekly supply zone right here, what happens? What happens when price reaches this supply zone? Well,
we need confirmation. Weekly, we are taking it from the daily, and maybe, yeah, from the daily.
Yeah,
change of character on the daily.
Exactly. If you think logically, you would say that weekly needs daily confirmation. I would say that also, but actually, if a weekly supply zone is getting mitigated, I would rather wait for a 4-hour change of character. Or if I want to be really fucking greedy, I will wait for a 15-minute change of character, because, you know, waiting for a daily change of character inside of a weekly zone is, you know, you will wait for eternity. If you're waiting for a daily change of character, that will take like 2 or 3 weeks to actually happen there. So I will say a 4-hour change of character / 15-minute change of character, if you want to be real fucking aggressive right there, will be enough. But, you know, we don't really use the weekly chart. It's for the real directional bias. So it's for the real directional bias, which tells you if it's really bearish, if it's bullish, which tells you what the higher time frame trend is. So yeah, but actually this flow chart right here could be the daily, 4-hour, and could be the 15 minutes. So it doesn't matter how you combine the time frames. These combinations between 3 time frames will always be alive. It could be also the 4-hour. So this could be the 4-hour, this could be the 15-minute, and this could be the 1 minute also. So it doesn't matter how you combine these time frames together. I just brought the example on the weekly chart because I want to show you the real chart at the same time too. So that's why I brought the weekly chart. Never mind. So continuing. If the weekly looks like this, if this zone is getting reached, it's on the weekly chart, you know, logical step will be to wait for a daily change of character, but we're not waiting for daily change of characters because we only trade this pair and we don't want to wait weeks for a simple change of character on the daily chart. So just skip that part. Weekly is for a real directional bias. It's just a directional time frame which tells you where price is heading. If I switch to the weekly, you will understand that it's pretty obvious that, you know, here's the structure that I just drew: series of lower lows, lower highs, series of lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, over and over again. So it's a real directional bias which tells us where price is heading. It tells us that it's going down. Okay. So switching back to the flow chart. If the weekly looks like this, sorry, I have to upgrade my trading view. I still forget it. So if the weekly looks like this, then this simple V shape on the weekly will look like this on the daily, right? So on this leg of the weekly chart, there will be a series of lower lows on the daily. Okay. As soon as price reaches this retracement point right here, so when price feels like it's like to retrace and create a reversal up to a supply area on the weekly chart, it will create a daily change of character right here. So if the daily change of character happens here, so if a daily supply zone is getting broken, then price has a really high chance to create its way up, follow its way up to the supply zone, to the weekly supply zone. So daily changes character here. Daily change of character happen, more likely there will be a daily demand reaction, series of higher highs, higher lows. Of course, the daily chart, daily flow chart will be bullish. It will be really, really bullish, right? So this is a bullish flow chart, and you can trade this structure to the upside. It will be a really, really clean structure that you can trade. And inside of these downside movements, there will be 4-hour downside order flow movements too. Inside of this downside movement on the daily chart, there will be a bearish structure on the 4-hour like this. But we will talk about right here. So if this daily character changing movement happens, you can trade the way up to this weekly supply zone. Of course, with 4-hour, 50-minute, 1-minute confirmations, you're doing the same as it tells you in the plan, as our plan. I'm just telling you the flow chart. So, okay, after this price reaches this weekly point, weekly supply area, then the original trend is being continued because it has a high chance to continue the original trend. Original trend is being continued. What happens? Breakout structure will happen here, just like on the weekly chart. And this huge weekly downside movement right here, which looks like, let me just switch to the real chart, which looks like this. So this is the weekly movement, right? So downside, upside, downside, upside, downside, upside, downside, upside. So this huge weekly movement right here will look, let me just switch back to the daily, will look something like this on the daily. So as you can see, I'm talking about this region after a supply reaction. This will look like this on the daily chart. So here's the daily. More likely, this was that downside movement on the weekly chart. It looks like this, right? Creating a series of lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. It looks like this on the daily chart. Okay, same thing goes over and over again. When it reaches its retracement point, when it's like a retrace right here, it will create a new lower low on the weekly chart, daily change of character coming up to a weekly supply zone, blah, blah, blah. Same thing again. Okay. But 4-hour relationship between the daily chart and the 4-hour. Okay, so this is the 4-hour chart. This is the 4-hour flow chart. The thing you can see here, so all of these movements right here will be representing this V shape on the weekly chart. So this downside movement looks like this on the 4-hour chart. So all of these movements, 4-hour change of characters, daily change of characters, everything will look like this on the 4-hour chart. Okay, so let me just explain. Here's the weekly supply. Here's the weekly supply at the same time too, right? Weekly movement will look like this. 4-hour movement will look like this. This is the weekly movement compared to the 4-hour movement. Okay, so the 4-hour will create breakout structures over and over again to the downside. So as you can see, here's a clear bearish structure on the 4-hour chart, breakout structure. More likely, there's a 4-hour decisional supply reaction. There's a 4-hour decisional supply reaction. It prints, let me just draw it with boxes instead. So here will be, for example, 4-hour, not 5-hour, but 4-hour decisional supply reaction. Inside of this 4-hour decisional supply, there will be a 15-minute change of character. Here's a 15-minute change of character. Inside of this 15-minute character changing movement, here will be a 1-minute change of character, And after this 1-minute change of character happens, you are going to enter in a trade right here with a limit order, blah, 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 blah. We already know this. Fractal confirmations happens here. Okay, that's a clean line. So right here at this decisional supply, there will be confirmation, fractal confirmation, and if we print a new breakout structure to the downside. It's lagging for you. Is it lagging?
It has a small delay, but not a lot, so it's good.
What do you mean small delay?
When you are basically drawing your highlighter, that has a small delay, but not that much, maybe with a 0.5 second delay. But yeah, it is good.
Okay. Is it annoying?
No, it's not.
Nope.
No, man, it's fine.
Okay. So where was I? Okay, yeah. Decisional supply reaction, 4-hour chart. It will print a new breakout structure. More likely, there will be a new decisional supply reaction on the 4-hour chart, which will print a new 15-minute confirmation, 1-minute confirmation here, which will print a new breakout structure to the downside. But here comes the trouble. Here comes the trouble, which I saw that actually you're getting confused by these relationship of the time frames, and you're getting confused that what if the higher time frame changes character, for example, what do you have to do? You're actually, if 4 hour changes character, you're aiming for the sky. You want to see the skyrocketing up to the 2002 region, for example. And that's not what's happening. You have to still count the daily and the weekly chart. If the 4 hour changes character right here, because 4 hour created a clean bearish structure, breakout structures over and over again. But after this, it reaches its endpoint. It has to collect some liquidity. It has to collect some more orders from a supply zone. It can't push to the downside anymore. It fails to create a breakout structure right here. It fails to break the structure, fails to create any more impact. It has to collect liquidity. We already learned this. What will it do? It will create a 4 hour change of character. It will create a 4 hour change of character to the upside, and it will create a bullish structure up to a daily zone, because the daily zone has enough power to give enough liquidity and enough orders to price to actually create a new breakout structure right here to the downside. So as soon as price reaches its daily supply zone, it creates another change of character to the downside, creates a new breakout structure to the downside, on the daily chart. So this right here, this is the daily swing high point. Daily, okay, let me just mark it. So how do I mark it? Like this. Daily swing high. So this is the daily swing high point right here. This is the daily swing low point. Swing low. So this is the daily swing low point. This is the daily swing high point. Daily high, daily low, daily high, daily low. Okay. When price reaches the daily low point, it will create 4 hour change of character, come back up to the daily supply zone. After this, it will create a new breakout structure on the daily chart. Here with the daily swing breakout structure, which will leave behind a new daily zone. Somewhere around here, there will be a daily zone. And this movement will create a new bearish structure on the 4 hour, breakout structures over and over and over again. Reaction on decisional supply zones. Here will be a 4 hour supply zone. Here will be a 4 hour supply zone. Here will be a 4 hour supply zone. Price is following this structure over and over again. Okay. When price reaches its endpoint again, can create another breakout structure to the downside. It will create a new change of character. It will create a new bullish order flow up to a daily supply zone, which will lead to another swing break to the downside here, which will lead to a new 4 hour bearish order flow, which will cause another breakout structure order flow to the downside. Okay, clean line again, clean line. So this is how the daily and the 4 hour changes character between one and each time frame over and over again. So here will be a new change of character on the 4 hour chart as soon as it reaches its low point. But okay, 4 hour change of character happens. Same bullish order flow starts to the upside to a daily supply zone. But this time, this daily supply zone can't hold price, can't give enough orders to price, can't give enough liquidity to price to create a new swing breakout structure here to the downside. So what will happen? The daily will change character. If this daily changes character, then, here's the flow chart. Here's the daily change of character. What will happen if the daily changes character? It will go up to the weekly supply zone and create a bullish structure on the daily chart. So this region, which I marked with one simple arrow, it won't look like this. It will look like this on the 4 hour chart and look like this on the daily chart. So it will create this movement up to a weekly supply area. So, see the relation, right? So 4 hour changes character, creates a bullish order flow to the upside to the daily supply zone. Daily supply zone is getting mitigated, can't give enough orders to price to actually break another structure to the downside. So, it can break structure here. Actually, this movement right here happens here when price can't give enough. This daily supply, let me just mark it here. So this is the daily supply that I'm talking about. So this daily supply right here looks like this on the 4 hour chart. So this movement here looks like this on the 4 hour chart. 4 hour will change character here. It will print a bullish order flow to the upside to up to this daily supply zone here. After it changes character, it changes character. Here will be a change of character on the daily chart, just like this on the daily chart, represented on the 4 hour chart. It will print the bullish order flow up to a weekly supply zone. As I explained, it won't look like this. It will look like this on the daily. It will look like this on the daily. It will print the order flow up to a weekly supply zone. And after this weekly supply zone is getting reached, what happens? Here's the point. Another breakout structure to the downside on a weekly order flow chart. Because this is how the time frames are switching between one and each other. This is how the trend is switching on the daily, on the 4 hour, according to the weekly chart. And this is how you can combine all of these time frames together. So once again, this V shape right here is being represented on the 4-hour chart by this movement. So this simple V shape on the weekly will look like this on the 4-hour with lots of 4-hour change of characters, lots of daily change of characters. I mean, there will be more likely one daily change of character, but lots of daily change of 4-hour change of characters, lots of switching between bearish and bullish order flows over and over again, lots of daily supply reactions. And this is how time frame and fractal time frame and actual order flow on every single time frame looks like. You have to understand, just because the 4-hour change character, it doesn't mean that price will simply skyrocket to the upside. It doesn't mean that you can TP the sky and the bow. It means that if 4-hour changes character, just like here, it has a chance to go after the daily supply zone, and after a daily supply mitigation, it has a chance to follow its main structure, which is bearish. And if price changes character on the daily chart, it has a chance to continue its way up to a weekly supply zone. And if that weekly supply zone is getting broken, if this weekly supply zone breaks, or this weekly supply zone breaks, then there's a chance that really the higher time frame trend has been changed, and this bearish order flow will be discontinued. So this order flow, this bearish order flow will be discontinued if the weekly finally changes character. But it doesn't seem like that the weekly likes to change character. It just keeps breaking structure to the downside over and over again, following the weekly zones over and over again, etc., etc., etc. So let me just move these here and switch back to the daily chart. So, you know, representing this on the live chart. Let me just mark it. Okay, never mind. Wrong arrow. Okay. So I just marked it. Okay, this is the weekly V shape, right? So this is the weekly V shape. What did I say? If a weekly V shape looks like this, this is the weekly, right? Then the daily, this will look like this. And you can see, here's the high point, new low point, new high point, new low point, new high point. I mean, sorry. High point, low point, new high point, new low point, new high point, new low point. And after this, price will change character on the daily. This is the daily chart still, which we are looking at. Price will change character on the daily. Print a bullish structure, print a bullish order flow to the upside, and more likely it will react on a weekly supply zone. As I said, it could be the extreme weekly, it could be the decisional weekly. In this case, it reacted on the decisional weekly supply zone here, because the weekly will more likely look something like this. Let me just switch. Yeah, here's a weekly buy to sell candle. Price clearly reacted on that weekly supply zone, as you can see. And after this, what happens? Of course, the weekly will create another breakout structure here to the downside, just like I explained it, because the weekly still looks like a V shape. This is the weekly. And you know, weekly printed a new breakout structure to the downside here. Perfect. Okay. But still, inside of this structure, inside of this daily structure, as I said, 4-hour will create lots of changes between bullish and bearish structures. So here's, for example, this downside movement. Okay. 4-hour, sorry. Yeah, 4-hour. Here's the same. Let me just switch back. Wait, what am I looking at? I want to look at. Okay, just look at this. Just look at this. It's the same. It's the same. Just look at this. So inside of this daily structure, the 4-hour will look like, just like I drew in the flow chart. The 4-hour will create bearish breakout structures to the downside over and over again. Breakout structure, change of character to the upside. It will print a bullish order flow up to a daily supply zone. After a daily supply zone mitigation, it will change character on the 4-hour chart. We'll print a new bearish order flow to the downside, which will lead to a daily swing breakout structure. So this is the daily swing breakout structure, right? It will lead to a daily swing breakout structure. It will create another 4-hour bearish order flow, blah, 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 breakout structures over and over again. After it reaches its endpoint, it will create a 4-hour change of character to the upside here. It will print the bullish order flow on the 4-hour chart. It will come up to a daily supply zone. If the daily supply zone is unable to hold price, then you know the daily change of character will happen. If the daily change of character happens, what will happen? Price will more likely reach the weekly zone. So after the change of character happens, price has a chance to reach a weekly zone somewhere around here. After a weekly zone mitigation somewhere around here, price has a chance to create all the fractal confirmations again, create the V shape on the weekly chart, and create a swing breaker structures on the weekly. You know, just look at the time frame. Just take your time to look at the weekly, 4-hour, and daily right here. I mean, not right here in this webinar, but right here on the chart, right here on the EURUSD chart, and you will understand everything. You will understand the relationship between the weekly, daily, and 4-hour chart, just like I explained it. So as you can see, there's lots of changes between the time frames. But you know, in the past weeks, past months, the weekly change of, I mean, the daily change of character has not happened yet. So the week, sorry, once again, daily change of character has not happened yet. Price is following the daily structure, creating daily supply reactions over and over again. But price just aggressively reversed here to the upside right now, and it has a high chance to create its bullish movement up to the supply zone on a weekly chart somewhere around here. Let me just switch back to the weekly chart. And the supply, actually, we are inside of a weekly supply zone. Here's a weekly supply zone. But I'm expecting a 50% mitigation of this weekly supply zone, more likely. So, you know, here's this extreme. More likely this extreme will be mitigated because, you know, there's liquidity. Price just created a fine liquidity for the supply zone right here. And this was the origin area on the 4-hour too, which has caused, you know, here's the refinement also. Below this, there's huge liquidity line right here and right here also. This caused a change of character, and it has been also, it has been left unmitigated. But, you know, let's keep this topic for the forecast. I was just talking about the relationship between the weekly, daily, and 4-hour. Was it all understandable? Guys, react. Was it all understandable? Did you get what I'm talking about? Okay, perfect. So yeah, moral of the story. Keep a track on the daily chart, keep a track on the weekly chart, keep a track on the higher time frames. A 50-minute change of character doesn't mean a real change in the trend. A 50-minute change of character will only mean that price has a chance to reverse up to a 4-hour supply zone. Sorry guys, let me just go out to bring a cup of water, just real quick, because I forgot to grab it. All right, here I am. So, okay. After this educational topic, we will create the usual breakdown on the 4-hour, 15-minute, 5-minute, 1-minute, and analyze the charts, create a forecast for the upcoming days, create a forecast for the upcoming weeks, actually on the higher time frame too. So, you know, let me just start with clear charts. Because, you know, I like clarity. Okay. What can we see here? We can see obviously a really fucking bearish structure on every single time frame still, right? Still on the weekly too. But we can see the same thing that I just explained. When price reached its endpoint, reached its low point, and failed to create a new breakout structure here to the downside. Instead of creating a breakout structure, it just created a change of character here on the 4-hour chart. This was the last supply zone at the 4-hour chart, and price just simply flipped this zone, right? This zone has been flipped from this demand zone. This demand zone has been more than mitigated here, and you know, price is continuing its way up, creating a pullback. As I said, if this happens, what can we expect? We can still follow the 4-hour structure to the upside, up to a daily supply, And if we don't really count this thing here as a daily supply zone, because technically it's just a small stop in the market. I mean, this candle right here is a stop in the market. It's just a small stop in the market, and the real supply zone at this region, the extreme, the real volume bringer supply zone, is this one right here, right? Because, you know, just take a look at this. The real breakout structure, the real swing breakout structure happened from this supply zone. You know, inefficiently broke below the last recent swing low point. This was a small rejectional point, which didn't even create a pullback to give it a chance to create a breakout structure. So it's just an actually inside bar, which is not inside of the previous candle's low, but you know, it's just a real tiny stop in the market on the daily chart. So this could have been a reliquidity for the extreme area, which actually caused the breakout structure, because this area caused inefficiency, caused liquidity sweep, and caused breakout structure. This region only caused inefficiency. So, you know, just simply track your criteria on the zones too. This supply zone caused inefficiency. This one caused breakout structure, liquidity sweep, and also inefficiency. So which one is stronger? Obviously, this one. As you can see, price is showing an aggressive reaction on this zone, and even on the 50% of this zone. Yeah, almost reacting on the 50% of this daily zone. And if I switch to the 4-hour chart, this, yeah, perfect. Perfect liquidity for this zone. Or even if we count this is a liquidity, this is also perfect liquidity, this is also perfect liquidity. You know, huge amount of liquidity has been swept into this daily supply zone. And technically, this daily supply zone is the cause of the daily breakout structure to the downside and the daily inefficiency and the daily order flow starting movement. And as I said, relation between the time frames. Of course, you could catch all of these bullish movements after this supply. You could catch all of these bullish movements. After the change of character, you had a chance to catch all of these bullish order flow movements after this supply zone. But here comes the relationship between the 4-hour and the daily. Daily will always be stronger. And if there's a supply zone on the daily chart like this, we started not just started, but actually caused a swing low breakout structure on the daily chart, will always be stronger than the 4-hour order flow. So these kind of supply zones, demand zones on the daily chart will always be stronger than the 4-hour order flow. And, you know, actually, was it a refinement step 2? No, yeah, we could call this was a refinement step 2, but, you know, daily supply zone be mitigated. After this daily supply zone mitigation, I wouldn't say that we would wait for a 4-hour change of character, because, you know, the 4-hour change of character would be somewhere, I'm not somewhere around here, but this would be the 4-hour change of character. If we will wait for this 4-hour change of character, then, you know, we would have to wait days. Like even we have to wait for on all of this week for this change of character. The thing we can do here is to mark this last recent 4-hour demand out, because, yeah, you know, this is still the pretty valid demand zone right here, which swept all of this liquidity, which created this inefficiency, which broke this structure. Let me just mark all of this. Here was a breakout structure, you know, here was a liquidity sweep, you know, here was inefficiency starting movement. So this, sorry, let me just change the color. So this demand zone caused everything that we need to actually in order to form a valid demand zone. So what can we do right here? Waiting for a change of character on the 4-hour chart will not be a good idea, because, you know, we don't want to skip all of these days of trading, because there will be lots of opportunities between this daily zone and between this 4-hour zone, which we can trade. There will be lots of opportunities between this zone and this zone to trade this short region. So what can we do in this region? Switch to the 15-minute chart. You know, still here's this 4-hour demand zone, and actually below this demand zone, there's liquidity. This is liquidity. I won't mark it. I'm just marking it right now that this is liquidity. Price created a perfect liquidity line on the way up, which is ready to be swept after this daily reaction. So my expectations on the 4-hour chart, actually, I'm not just talking about the 15-minute chart. I'm not talking about the 15-minute chart current at this region. I'm talking about the higher time frame expectations. More likely, I'm almost 100% that price will reach this demand down here. I'm almost 100% the price will come down to this demand zone. After this demand mitigation, 2 outcomes. Of course, obviously the first outcome, if price comes down to this demand zone, it will create a 15-minute change of character, continues way up, sweeping liquidity, mitigating the daily, weekly demand zone, weekly supply zone up here. First outcome. Second outcome, price mitigates this demand zone, can create a 15-minute change of character, simply continues the bearish structure on the weekly, daily 4-hour, right? Because higher time frame is still bearish. It's still fucking bearish. And, you know, this is also a weekly zone. This is the refinement of a weekly zone. Because, you know, I just showed you that this zone right here is the refinement of this whole weekly zone. So technically, price is inside of a weekly zone, inside of a daily zone, and, you know, presented a really fucking huge reaction. Of course, obviously, the higher time frame will always be stronger than the lower time frame. So that's why I'm thinking about that price will reach this demand zone down here, and there will be these 2 outcomes on this demand zone. But there will be a third outcome too. For example, price has a chance to create a 15-minute change of character here fail to create the breakout structure to the upside, react on some sort of 50-minute supply zone at this region, create a confirmation, and after that, it can continue its way down. So it has price has a chance for this, that it will create a change of character on the 15-minute chart and can print a new breakout structure here to the upside. But prints a confirmation on the supply side also. So these are the three outcomes that we can expect on this demand zone. And I'm really fucking positive that price will reach this demand zone. Okay, but in the meanwhile, while price reaches this demand zone, what can we do? I'm asking you, if you raise your hand, you can answer the question. Guys? Who was the first? Eng? NSF?
Yes.
So what can we do?
So if the price come in a demand zone, we can wait 15-minute change of character.
I was just explaining the scenarios. My question was, what can we do between the supply and demand?
Supply and demand.
Sorry?
So it's a two scenario. If you go back supply.
I really can't hear you. Sorry, your microphone is really, really noisy.
Sorry.
Okay, never mind. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, let me just explain. We don't have really much time. 15-minute chart. You know, more like the 15-minute change character right here. In this case, can we use the 1 hour demand zone? No, I'm not using 1 hour zones. 1 hour time frame is really fucking fake. Wait for 50-minute, exactly. You know, we can just simply use the 50-minute for confirmations because price is inside of a 50-minute bearish order flow. Price is inside of a 50-minute bearish order flow and it will come down to this demand zone. And we have a really high chance that we will find good opportunities inside of this 50-minute bearish order flow, which is leading down to this demand. And we will have a chance to trade 50-minute zone confirmations after breakout structures right here, following all the way down to this demand zone. But the smart option will be right here, is to wait for, is to TP your positions on valuable 50-minute demand zones too. So the final target point will be this 4-hour demand zone, because as I said, it has a really high chance to be tapped. So the final target point will be this demand zone. But since this is a daily supply zone, and you know, price was in a heavy bullish pressure, I would recommend to TP your positions on valuable demand zones, for example, like this, And yeah, these are the two unmitigated demand zones where you can TP your position. And of course, these will give you entry points too. So for example, here's this 15-minute valuable demand zone. If price mitigates this demand zone, flips this demand zone, that will be a good entry opportunity, you know, targeting down to this demand zone right here. But if price prints a confirmation, for example, on this demand zone, so if price will create a confirmation on this demand, then you know, you will be able to target the 50% of this supply, for example, or the new breakout structure here, or some liquidity right here, because here's liquidity on the upside. So let me just explain every single 15-minute scenario that could happen here, because it's a bit tricky. Since 4-hour structure is still bullish, 4-hour hasn't changed character yet, right? So there's no 4-hour change of character, but we can actually see that, yeah, it's just a big pressure to the upside. 4-hour hasn't changed character, 4-hour is still bullish. So on these 15-minute zones, what do we have to wait for? Do we have to wait for a strong change of character, or do we have to wait for simple change of character? I'm asking you guys. For example, on this zone, we wait for a simple or strong change of character. Muhammad? Yeah, thank you guys. We are waiting for a strong change of character. We will have to wait for a strong change of character because price is still in a bearish pressure coming from a daily supply zone. Order flow is still bearish. Exactly. Order flow is still bearish. Daily supply zone mitigation happened. Lots of the 15-minute change of characters has happened. 15-minute order flow is extremely bearish right now at this region. It's creating breakout structures, liquidity sweeps over and over again. So if this demand is getting mitigated right here, The best option would be if to wait for the strong change of character right here, or wait for a 5-minute supply break. If a 5-minute supply break or a 5-minute, strong change of character on a 1-minute chart happens here, then we have a chance to aim for higher supply areas, for example, this one right here. But you know, and this is what we can see right here currently. If price mitigates this demand zone, and you know, first outcome, strong change of character or 5-minute supply break, then we can take longs up to supply regions, up to higher supply regions. If price flips this demand zone to the downside and comes back up to the supply that flipped this demand, we can wait for confirmation targeting this demand zone, this 4-hour demand zone. You know, same scenario could be live right here. This is a valuable demand zone also here because it broke structure to the upside right here. Let me just check if it flipped something valuable. Yeah, we could say it's a flip zone also. Both of these zones are flip zones. Technically, this is the real flip zone. This will be a really valuable flip zone. So yeah, this right here is a valuable demand zone. This right here is a really valuable demand zone where we can expect a reaction on. So yeah, you can play between the zones currently in this region. It's tricky. It's actually tricky because, you know, there's the daily, there's the 4-hour, which is showing us different data. So we're on the 15-minute chart. We are still trading the 15-minute chart. Just because I talked about the weekly and the daily structure in this webinar doesn't mean that we will trade the 4-hour chart. We are still trading the 15-minute order flow. We are playing with the 15-minute order flow. We are trading the 15-minute order flow because this is our plan. You know, we are waiting for confirmations on the 15 and 5-minute zones. And currently the 15-minute order flow is still bearish. So we have to wait for these confirmations. We are still doing the same thing. Just because these timeframes are getting trickier nowadays, because, you know, it's getting trickier because we haven't really experienced this in the past year. In the past year, price was just in a really fucking bearish pressure to the downside over and over again. And it couldn't change character really on the weekly or the daily or something like this. But right now it did. But we have to adapt. We have to move on. We have to play with the order flow. And we are still trading the 15-minute order flow. And here's the 15-minute order flow. Currently, this is a new breakout structure to the downside. Currently, this is a new flip zone right here. This is a flip zone. This is exactly a flip zone. Why? Because it was reacting, this low point was reacting on this demand zone here, which caused this breakout structure, inefficient breakout structure to the upside. And this was a reactional point right here. And this has been flipped with body closure. As you can see, perfect body closure flip. That's it. We have a new flip zone. What we can do is to wait for the mitigation of this 15-minute zone right here, confirmation on the 1-minute chart, targeting this 15-minute zone. If this 15-minute zone is getting mitigated, we can wait for the same scenarios that I just explained, strong change of character on the 1-minute chart or 5-minute change of character, you know, targeting this supply zone up here or the liquidity, targeting this supply zone or this liquidity. It's up to you, or wait for the flip of this 15-minute zone, targeting the 4-hour zone. Can we simply make a continuation trade, drawing the last BOS and enter a short to reach the 4-hour demand down? Yeah, but still track the demand zones because 4-hour order flow is still bullish. You know, 4-hour order flow is bullish, 15-minute is bearish. If the 4-hour order flow is bullish, what price usually does? So, you know, this is the 4-hour order flow. Return to demand zones over again. I will just draw this line. This is the 15-minute order flow. Reaches its high point, it will create a change of character to the downside. And if you create a downside structure, downside 15-minute structure, down to a 4-hour demand zone. And this is what we can currently see. Price created this new breakout structure on the 4-hour chart, reaches its endpoint, 15-minute change of character, 15-minute bearish order flow. Possible target point, final target point is this 4-hour demand zone. And yeah, obviously, that's what I was talking about. We can trade the short side of the market currently over and over again down to this demand area. That's technically on the 15-minute chart. I just explained the scenarios. If price reaches up to this supply zone, creates a change of character, we can target this demand zone, blah, blah, blah. Same scenario, strong change of character right here, 5-minute break of supply. After it happens, we can target higher supply regions or this liquidity or this liquidity. I just have to explain it again. Sorry, guys, because, you know, some of you guys still don't get it. I just have to explain it again. If this demand is getting mitigated, we can wait for the flip also. If the flip happens, we can wait for a supply mitigation and targeting this demand zone down here. But more likely, all of these demands right here will be liquidity. You know, this looks like a really clear liquidity trend line for the demand area right here. But there's a chance that this, I mean, I said this demand is valuable. I mean, this is the only really valuable demand zone on this region. This is the only really valuable demand zone that we can identify right here. And this is a chance to reverse price to some higher supply region. But this is what we can do right now, currently in this structure. Switching to the 5-minute chart. Sorry, I have to upgrade. Okay. What can we see on the 5-minute chart? Liquidity above the valuable demand zone. This demand zone caused a really nice inefficient push and also flipped a really nice zone at this region. So it was a cause of this flip, cause of this liquidity sweep and everything. So as I said, this demand zone, we can really count mitigation on this demand zone, and we can really count some reaction on this demand zone, because this is the only valuable demand zone at this region. And on the 5-minute chart, there's perfect liquidity about this demand zone too. And right now, there's more liquidity even, you know, with this tab, which is getting swept, and there's more liquidity with double bottoms. So, you know, there's liquidity. So what we can do in this region is this is a lunchtime area. So technically, this is a lunchtime area. You know, it has been formed in lunchtime. We can count on a break of this zone. We can identify liquidity right here. And this liquidity is actually, let me just switch back to the 15-minute time frame. So this liquidity is below a valuable supply zone, 15-minute supply zone, which can be refined on the 5-minute chart also, but I will keep it the way it is. So this supply zone is above this liquidity line, and this supply zone has not been formed in the lunchtime area. So this is a valuable supply zone. This isn't really valuable because this has been formed in the lunchtime area. This is a lunchtime area supply zone. So it still has a chance to give us a retracement point and confirmation. You know, we can still wait for confirmations on lunchtime areas. So if the confirmation happens here, we'll be able to take shorts down to this demand zone, which is valuable. Still remember for the scenarios. Remember, keep all of the scenarios in your head, or just simply grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, and take notes. Take notes, guys. Take notes for the sessions. So if this is getting mitigated, we can wait for confirmation, blah, 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 targeting this zone. If this can't hold price and it changes character to the upside, I won't really recommend you to trade the bullish order flow here after this supply, because, you know, if price reverses here without mitigating this demand zone, then it will be a reversal in the middle of nowhere. And I don't really like to trade the reversals in the middle of nowhere. I want to see a clear mitigation of something before the reversal. If it reverses without mitigating anything and flips this supply, that could be a nice opportunity targeting this supply zone up here with longs, but I don't really recommend it. I will take it only if there will be really fucking high criterias, but I'm not. This isn't my major plan. This isn't my major plan to wait for the flip of this zone and target this supply up here. This is not my major plan. My major plan is to wait for the mitigation of either this supply zone confirmation, either this supply zone confirmation, or just simply wait for the mitigation of this demand zone down here. And you know, 1 minute strong change of character or 5-minute change of character. Sorry, 5-minute chart still. So 1 minute strong change of character on this zone, or 5-minute change of character, targeting higher supply regions, or targeting liquidity up here. So technically, this is the major plan. Or if price reaches this zone, you know, flip continuation down to the 4-hour zone. After the 4-hour zone mitigation, we can wait for 15-minute confirmations, but I will also update you about that. So technically, it's a pretty fucking clean flow chart. You know, price is just flowing downside down to the 4-hour demand zone. And you have to wait for this 5-minute/15-minute zone taps. Have to play around these confirmations. And technically, that's it about. That's all about this price action. That's all about this price action that I could analyze, that I could tell, that I could warn you about. And if something else happens or some scenario happens in this session, I will update you guys. I will send the market updates. So, everything understandable around these scenarios? All right. So it's understandable, pretty nice. I will just stop the recording and take a few more minutes to ask your questions if you have questions, but I will stop the recording because I don't really like to record question and answers.